Hey everyone, in today's episode, I'm interviewing Tamara Field Gersh. She's an unconventional life and business coach who shares her journey and insights on helping visionaries, creatives, and healers step boldly into their business and life. We talked about common fears and obstacles that her clients face and how she guides them through these challenges. These are very common challenges that we all go through. So these are great experiences for you guys to be listening to. Tamar emphasizes the importance of self nourishment and radical self trust for personal and professional growth. This was a very enlightening conversation. I hope you enjoy it. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Accidental CEO podcast, where we bridge the gap between the creativity you love and the CEO mindset you need. I'm your host, Nada Salvatore, wedding photographer and business educator. Find full show notes and resources at accidentalceopod.com. Let's get into today's episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Accidental CEO podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Tamar Field Gersh. She is a very unique woman with lots of great experience, and I can't wait for you guys to hear more about and learn from her. Tamar, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Perfect. Tell them a little bit about you. Where are you at? What do you do? All the good things.
For sure. First of all, I'm really excited to be hanging out with a bunch of photographers. I have like a place in my heart. I don't consider myself a photographer, but I've always been drawn to it and been practicing it and all that kind of stuff. So it's fun just to be hanging out with a bunch of photographers today. I am what I call myself an unconventional life and business coach. I work with creatives and healers and sometimes coaches. What I specifically do with them is really help them plug back into their own genius so that they can kind of stop acting like a total weirdo in their business and start really showing up like 150% authentically themselves. And they can just really be as excited and be as clear and all those things that they are in their passions and the things that they love to do that they're wanting to make into a business, so they can actually do that in their business as well and have a stinking fabulous fun time while doing it.
I love it. Tell us a little bit of your journey. I know you have a fascinating journey from being a birth doula to directing and traveling a teen summer program to becoming a life and business coach. So share a little bit about that, the sparks and these transitions and how you ended up where you are today.
For sure. Yeah. I am a big fan of journeys. I think, as you can see, a little bit of what you spoke about in terms of what I was drawn to. I've definitely tried on lots of different kinds of careers in my day. Number one, I've always been a person naturally who's been led by my heart and really led by what feels really fun and what feels really right and what taps into things that I love, in combination with a belief that I really have, which is that there's no such thing as what are you going to be when you grow up? That we are human beings that get to evolve and get to change and get to try things on and get to a place and then be like, oh, okay, now I'm ready for something new. In college, I started getting very interested in birth and in home birth and in natural births, and was really playing around with. I was in social work school. I was actually getting a BSW, so a bachelor's in social work. I was working with pregnant teenage moms as a social worker. And then just got really into birth and was thinking that maybe midwifery is where I want to be going. And so any midwife that would come, I went to college in New York City. And so any time any midwife or any midwifery convention would happen, I would run to volunteer there. And I was at numerous kind of conventions, meeting very cool women who were doing really very incredible, like frontline kind of things. And as I learned about midwifery and what you had to go through in terms of the training, and then even, and the things that the different kinds of rules and regulations that they had, which is why I ultimately left social work, I decided forget it, and I became a certified doula instead, which felt more like me, felt more free, kind of this entrepreneurship, mentality that we have now that feels is just so much freedom. So yes, I became a doula and got to attend some really powerful, beautiful births, as well as some very intense births as well. I did some home births and some births in the hospital until really I started having my own babies. And it was like, how am I going to leave my baby at 3 a.m. to go to this other one? And some doulas bring their babies with them. I just wasn't that kind. I was like very like, they have a sleep schedule and they have this kind of thing. So that kind of started to slow down, and I realized I think that maybe it's not for me. And that's when I kind of moved into a director of a traveling team program. And I had gotten it was a really incredible thing. I got a big budget. I could do whatever I want with it. And I basically set up all these incredible, powerful volunteer opportunities for teens all over the country, as well as organic farming, backpacking, and leadership building activities. And we stayed at the most gorgeous Airbnbs, and it was a really beautiful experience. And basically, I really kind of came to a place where I was looking into doing international development work. And I was playing around with potentially life coaching because I really wanted to kind of start my own business. And so when I was speaking to a woman in India who had started a nonprofit providing hygiene products to the slums in India, she happened to just casually drop the name of a coach, a podcast of a coach. And she's like, you should check it out. I forgot how we got to that point of the conversation. Anyway, I jotted it down. I forgot about it. And I went on to kind of explore international development. And then I picked up this podcast and I could not make it stop. I was so into it in so many different levels. And yeah, that's kind of like how I got myself into coaching. And I really haven't looked back ever since. And again, like there was times in between that time when I would be like putting on these fancy clothes and like, trying to look like somebody else, to go to these interviews, to try to sell myself to other people so that could work for them. And it was like nothing I wanted. I didn't want any part of it, but I felt like this is what you do. Then you grow up and you become this person that you get a job. And I didn't want that. And I remember going to my big sister, visiting her at her workplaces and being like, being shushed, don't talk so loud, So anyway, so I realized I'm totally an entrepreneur. My heart is, that's where I should go. And so I began to build my business, and I fell deeply in love with myself in the process, and have really been so amazed by the process of it. So
do you remember the name of the podcast that you got to listen to that got you on it?
Yeah, so she's the coach that I got certified through, which is Brooke Castillo, which is the podcast is called the Life Coach School. And that's who are you familiar with the Life Coach School?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She's, amazing. The school is changing significantly now, but she was an amazing coach, and she blew my mind, and I was like, I'm all in, let's go. And so I went for it, and I became a certified coach and just really jumped in.
That's great. Yeah, I love sharing with our audience any good podcasts or tips or books, anything out there. So you mentioned a passion from helping visionaries, creatives, and healers to step into boldly into their business and their life. What common fears have you seen and obstacles with your clients, and how do you guide them through these?
Yeah, well, I will say I have a special place in my heart for creatives and healers as well, because I think that it's the kind of careers that most people are like, it's never going to work out. You should really do something different. It's like, it's not going to happen, Yeah. So I've definitely been drawn to creatives and healers in that particular way. And so, listen, I think it's a funny thing. I think that a lot of the things that I see in my clients, we see as just because they're human beings, not necessarily because they're photographers and because they're musicians and because they're these things, but because I really feel like that there's been a joke put on us that God, the universe, whatever you believe, kind of plunked this brain, this non-evolved brain, this brain that we literally were living in the caves with, into our brains, and have us walking around in this world where it has nothing to do with that. Where we literally feel like if we post on social media and we're a little bit iffy about what we're saying, that there's the same emotional, physical experience we're having of is there a tiger outside my cave? There might be. Right. And so that's what comes up a lot. I think also with business building in general, but the biggest, I think, fear that comes up for my clients is absolutely the fear of showing up and the fear of being rejected because of it, whether it means not signing clients or not getting likes on their posts or actually getting a comment that's I don't agree with you. I don't know what you're saying by that, because it's literally as an entrepreneur, it's what we do every day is the exact opposite of what our brain is like feels safe and wants us to do, right? It's like putting ourselves into what they think our brain thinks is like, a scary, risky place. So the fear is that like, holding themselves back, which is why I said that my work with my people is really to create a very fun, very warm, let's just have a good time doing this kind of environment so that they don't take it so seriously and they don't think that their life is literally dependent on it. And then they can start showing up as 150% themselves and really bring the unique business that only they can bring to the world.
What are some of you said fear of showing up? How do you see some of that kind of manifesting on their work, on their business? Is that just not being out there on social media? Is it just not reaching out to get clients? How do you see that coming across?
Well, a lot is like, they'll write a post and then they'll think about it. I don't know. Maybe I should change it here. I don't know. Like really like overthinking a particular
Trying
one
to be
little
perfect.
post. Yes, definitely the perfectionist brain comes into effect. That definitely comes up in terms of like holding themselves back, online. And then offline is the same kind of thing in terms of like not wanting to go to the networking events, not wanting to speak to people about what they do. Maybe I'm bothering them. Didn't I say it already? I feel like they know if they wanted to hire me, they would. Certainly holding back from like creating offers and really, offering people what they can give. I think that a lot of times my clients will feel like, that it's like really annoying to people and that they don't want to bother people and not thinking about their offer as an invitation into a beautiful experience and something that will change this person's lives. And so I think that like literally every aspect of business, it shows up. It could show up if you don't have the skills, because again, it's naturally how we're built to not do these type of things, right? It's much safer to be sitting in a desk with a boss who's telling you what to do and sending out emails to your team and and feels a lot less safe to be kind of putting your views, your opinions out there in the world and asking come coach with me or come do a photo shoot with me or come and feel like I'm kind of bothering them. They're not going to want it. What if they reject me? So I think that's like definitely shows up in like all the different aspects. Marketing specifically is like the most 100%.
Yeah, we talk about running new hardware and outdated software, right? So our brain is still thinking, like you said, way back when we needed to protect ourselves from anything that makes us feel uncomfortable, and it's really hard to override those instincts for sure.
Well, I mean, and that's why I use it also because I talk about how like the other part of our brain that does do that is thinking about our future and does want to create amazing things for our future, right? Our prefrontal cortex, our human brain, that's like, everybody's given out like the top of the top iPhone, what is the top iPhone now? Like 16 maybe? iPhone 16? I don't know.
You're asking the wrong person.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Let's say iPhone 16. I think it's actually a 15, right? It's like 15, everyone gets one. And so but when you're not tapping into that part of your brain, it's literally like taking that iPhone 15 and sticking into your dresser drawer and like never experiencing what unbelievable magic could happen from it, right? So yeah, 100%. I totally agree.
So your approach really emphasized the importance of self-nourishment and that radical self-trust. You talked about that a little bit. Could you explain these concepts and why they're vital for personal and professional growth?
Yeah, for sure. 100%. I'm definitely a diehard self-nourishment and self-radical trust. They really do go together. I'll say I used to be a person who really would withhold nourishment kind of things from me. Would really withhold, like for example, I wouldn't allow myself to take a shower if I didn't work out that day. When I wasn't working and I was like just with my babies, I wouldn't allow myself to go join my friends with their babies to go out for coffee or salads because I wasn't really making real money. I definitely spent a good portion of my life holding back for myself because I felt like I didn't deserve it. I didn't earn it, right? That I wasn't like that I need to earn it in order to have it. And what happened because of that is that I lost myself completely. I literally like lost myself. And so this is a significant part of what I bring into my coaching with my clients, especially again, as entrepreneurs and people who are working in their own businesses that, it's the self-nourishment that comes first that then creates the radical self-trust, right? And so Self-nourishment is really could be as simple as number one, just like asking yourself, like when you're sitting down to do work and you're like having a really hard time focusing and you're really all over the place. And it's really kind of taking a moment to drop in and say, like, hey, babe, what are you needing right now? Are you needing to maybe stop the project and get up and move your body? Are you needing to go get yourself like a hot drink? Are you needing something different right now? And really not going to judgmental place of like, why are you getting the work done? What's going on, right? Like it could be as simple as that. And it could also be other things like, for example, like every morning I write a letter to love and to what I call the soul of my business, which is like the love part, the soul, like the real soul part of my business. This is a practice. Are you familiar with Elizabeth Gilbert?
No.
No, oh, she's amazing. I'm going to go see her actually in a month or less than a month in London.
Oh.
So maybe you know her from Eat, Pray, Love. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Okay, so she's the author of Eat, Pray, Love. She's also the author of Big Magic, and which is definitely something that your listeners should go check out. Anyway, so she started a practice in her Substack of writing a letter to love, and so I kind of tweaked it to the letter of the soul of my business, and I basically it's a nourishing practice where I get every morning. I'm starting off really listening to the part of my business that loves me the most, and what does she have to offer me? What does she have to say to me? Right. And then there's the bigger things where I every single day schedule myself a nap from 2:30 to 3:30. I take a nap. Like nobody, I don't talk to anybody, nothing like that. From Sunday to Wednesday, I schedule my clients. Thursday, I have no clients. I don't see any clients. I don't do any work. And it's a day where I follow my curiosity. I literally don't have anything. I'm a scheduled person. I'm a very scheduled person. Thursday is always blank. And I always wake up to it and say, like, what would feel really fun today? Maybe I'll go work on a farm. Maybe I'll go on a hike. Maybe I'll just spend the day at the beach. Maybe I'll go out with a friend to a cute cafe, and just really kind of explore what would feel fun. So that's kind of self-nourishment. So with that, when you can really nourish yourself, then when it comes to like trusting yourself, really having this radical self-trust, right? You've loved on yourself so much. You've literally created this relationship with yourself. You think about your relationship with yourself is just like a relationship with somebody else, right? With your partner, with your sister, with your best friend, right? And so when you give and you give and you give, you have this like deeper trust for that person, right? You know them better. And that's what then how, radical self-trust comes into play. And then when you have radical self-trust in your business, then you make decisions and you're like all in, and you create schedules for yourself, or you just know what you want to do and you're all in. You're not thinking twice about it. You got it. Right. And something doesn't happen. Your offer, something you launched falls apart. It's okay. Like you trust that you're going to be able to get back up and do it again. So that's why I really talk a lot about rest and about nourishing yourself throughout the process of building a business. You can't just be handed strategies. Strategies are great, but if you don't have the part of like nourishing yourself along the process, it's not going to work in the long run.
So how do you help your clients unbecome? So you talked about unbecoming something that they are not, or someone that they are not. Can you share a little bit of maybe an experience that you help a client through where we can really understand what that concept means?
Yeah. To like unbecome, to become who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, we all are walking around all day long with these beliefs that came from our parents and our grandparents and ancestors long ago, and our second grade teacher and all the people. And because we think them over, because they've been said to us over and over, and we think them over and over, they become a belief. They become rooted inside of us. And so we walk around just believing them and then living out our lives because of them. So this shows up in big ways and in small ways all the time. I do a lot of self-awareness in my coaching, right? Because my clients will say things and it will be like as if it is factual. Like, I'm just not good at that. This thing is really ugly, or this didn't work out. My business isn't working. Things like, they'll just say, it's as if it's like 100% factual, and it's actually just their brain's opinion. It's just their brain whispering their thoughts and opinions to them, and that's all it is. but they take it very seriously. And that's how they like kind of live out their lives. So we do a lot of self-awareness and really, bring those thoughts out and then using a process to really like take a look at them like, okay, so this is a thought, right? How is it making us feel? But when you're feeling this particular way, what kind of things are you doing or not doing because of it? And ultimately, what is the result that you're creating here, right? Just kind of seeing what happens here, right? And then we kind of really decide, like, is it actually true? And do you want to keep it? Like, do you feel like you remember who that came from? Do you want to give it back to them because it's no longer working for you, right? So I definitely take them through that whole process. And, so one, bigger example is I had a client who came to me. She was actually wanting to build her real estate agent business. And, that's what she came to me for. And in the process, we basically discovered, we kind of like dug, that she didn't want to be a freaking real estate agent at all. And that she really wanted to be a chef. And she was a great cook. And she's super into being a chef. And the reason why she wasn't was because she, was waiting for her family, her sisters and her parents to believe in her first. So she basically just didn't believe that she could do it because her family, anytime she brought up with her family, they're like, that's nuts. Like, have fun cooking in the kitchen, but that's where it goes. Stick with your real estate stuff. Which, by the way, I always tell my clients, especially in the beginning of their business building career, to never share their stuff, like their business stuff, their visions, their dreams with the people that love them the most. Because those people want to protect you. And the way they feel like they're protecting you is by saying, like, don't do this. That's ridiculous. They don't want you. They think like your brain. They don't want you to get rejected and get all these kinds of things. So I say, like, keep that conversation with other visionaries and other dreamers and other entrepreneurs, and stick to the weather and vacations and other things with the people you love. Like, you don't want to mess that up. So anyway, so she wanted to really be a chef. So through that, discovery, we kind of did the coaching, and I was like, listen, you need to go first. You need to believe in yourself first. You cannot wait around for other people to believe in you in order for you to believe in yourself. So through our work, she really realized that she could do this. And so we went on to like her applying to, different chef schools and saving up money for it and all those kinds of things. So that's kind of a big example. But then there's like a million of those little examples of, again, kind of like trading in the thoughts and beliefs with new ones that now fit them and allow them to grow into their next version that they want to be growing into.
That's great. Yeah, I think a lot of times we're just trying to please those around us, and, we're not fully chasing the things that we want to do, and, listening to people listing all the things that could go wrong, right? Like we need anybody else to do it. And that's what it keeps a lot of people from jumping into entrepreneurship and starting their own business, is that false security of maybe the job that you're at right now, or that you don't know what's coming. So how can you make sure, especially in the creative arena, like how can you make sure that you can pay your bills with photography or with web designing and whatever else we're out there doing. So
for sure. Yeah. No, I just signed on a client who's a painter, and I remember our consult, and he asked me, he's like, can I just ask you, straight up, he's like, do you think I can make a business out of this? And I said to him, of course you could. And he was like, he was like in shock. He was just like, I never could imagine that. Like, I never imagined that somebody else would think that I could do this, And I was like, you for sure, if you want it, you can create it 100%. So yeah, I agree 100%.
Hey, wedding photographers and event planners, say goodbye to time chaos with Timeline Pro. Our app turns your workflow into a breeze, letting you create and customize stunning wedding day timelines in minutes. Share them with clients and vendors for instant feedback, all within the app. No more endless emails and coordinating headaches. With our easy-to-use templates, shot list tracker, and sunset timings, your planning becomes as joyful as the events you're crafting. Dive into a stress-free planning experience and make every wedding a masterpiece. Download Timeline Pro now and transform the way you plan weddings and events. For more, visit timelineproapp.com. So you describe yourself as the queen of joyful living. And I love that. So, in a world that we are often stressed and overwhelmed, how do you cultivate and maintain joy, both in your own life, but also in the life of your clients, like helping your clients stay joyful?
Yes, I will say I definitely got tested this year. This was probably my most intense year personally. And so this was like, I was like, first of all, so grateful and thankful of being a coach and having tools and having like a toolbox packed with lots of different options. And so I'll say the number one thing in terms of really being able to tap into a joyful life and really feel the immense beauty of joy is to feel the not joy and to really not to be to really allow the unjoyful emotions to be a part of your life. And the more we allow those emotions to come in and not push them away and not resist them, not get distracted with other things so we don't have to think about them and all these kinds of things, the, you know, I always say, like, the successful people out there are the only difference between a very successful person and a person who's like having a hard time getting their business off the ground is the successful person has a comfort with being uncomfortable, right? They can nobody likes to feel the other things that it's not joyful, right? That's not a fun thing. But they recognize that it is momentarily, it's not forever, and that you can feel these things and still survive till you get to the other side and then, experience that. So I think the number one thing is absolutely just not feeling joyful and really sitting with that and not pushing it away and allowing yourself to really have it go through like your entire body with it and recognize what it feels like and just be there with it, again, which is not the most fun thing to do, but it's an incredibly important thing to do. And I'll say for myself, definitely something I've done with my clients who've also had very challenging years this year. I have tapped into my body in a way I've never have before. I'm moving into like somatic work with my work. So for those who don't know that kind of a thing, it's basically really different forms of exercise and movements that really allow the emotions to move through your body. And so it's like shaking and dropping and like those kind of like meditative movements and kinds of things, because emotions like grief and hurt and all those kinds of emotions get stuck in our bodies if we don't like match it and follow it with it. And so I've done so much, like I'm walking on the beach all the time. I'm shaking all the time. I do work out like every single day. I do somatic movement stuff with my own clients and really allowing them to like really help move all those kinds of things, through their bodies. And that's kind of what helps lead us back to joy, right? And it allows us to recognize what we can be in control of. I think the biggest stealer of joy is when we're fighting to control things we can't control. And when we can bring joy back into our lives is when we realize what we, kind of give up. There's things I can't control, and I'm going to let them do their thing. But there are places where I can control, like, for example, how we think about the different circumstances and different kinds of things in our lives. And, and when I decide to think about it this particular way, it drives me and energizes me in this particular way, right? So really kind of letting the things we can't control to kind of go to the sidelines and then take focus and energy into things that we can control. And that allows us to really, really bring in a lot of joy in our lives. And then absolutely bringing back to self-nourishment. I know when I was first building a business, I was like so consumed with like, but I don't want to like give up my beach walks, and I don't want to give up this, and I don't want to do this. And I realized again, the amazing thing, I definitely could be a poster child for entrepreneurship because it's such a brilliant invention, because we get to like live the most beautiful lives where we get to create all the money, and we get to also then have our beach walks and our naps and our whatever feels fulfilling to us to bring us joy. I think that those are kind of the two main strategies that I have for myself and my clients to consistently be tapping back into, joyful living as we continue to like build our work.
I love it. Those are great. Thank you for sharing that with us. So let's talk about your international retreat. You are an international retreat leader. What are some of the unique benefits of having a retreat like that to individuals looking to have that journey into a more joyful life, into their business success? Like, talk to us a little bit about what that retreat brings to the table.
Yeah, so I'm also a big traveler. I love travel. I love meeting people all over the world. I love adventure. I love all those things. Actually, the one job I was almost going to take before coaching was I was going to work for a organization in Africa that would have brought me. The reason I didn't do it at the end was like I would have been away from my kids for 2 weeks every other week or something crazy. I don't know.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So, anyways, I love travel. And I think it's the same kind of, obviously, you are traveling to a different place, but the idea of, a retreat as well as travel and adventures like those is that you get to leave everything that is here, that you've already established here, who you are, the people that you know, and you get to create a completely different reality somewhere else. And when you're playful like that, and when you get more curious and the creativity just kind of oozes out, right, of you in a different kind of way than when you're home, you're able to create brand new things that you never would have been able to if you were kind of home, in your office chair, doing your things, and then going out and doing your shoots and all those kinds of things. When I travel, I oftentimes, if I'm traveling like on my own, I'd say, I kind of pretend I'm different things, different people, just to have like some fun, to see what it'll feel like when these people don't know me. Like I think last trip I was a marine biologist and like, I knew nothing about marine. I was like really hoping I was not going to meet another marine biologist. Because, and that's like what a retreat is. It's like a coming together. I'm also very committed and dedicated to community and specifically women coming together and creating a energy and a power that you can't do on your own. And again, breathing, I do like these business I call nourished business retreats, where they're coming just to really like breathe new life into their businesses, where the business feel a little bit like it's good, right? But I want to breathe new life into myself so I can breathe new life into my business. So I think it's a great way to do it. It's a great way to kind of change things up, switch things around, and be really playful. I think that definitely playful is a huge value of mine, both for kids and for adults. And adults, for some reason, got the memo that they're not allowed to be playful anymore. And I want to say no, just no.
Very cool. Where is your favorite place in the world that you've been so far?
I would say Africa. I really am an Africa person. I love Tanzania and Uganda. Rwanda is next on my list. I was supposed to go there during COVID, didn't happen. But I have a big heart. I have a big place in my heart for Africa and the African people. I love the dance. I love the food. I love the music. I love the colors. I love the earrings. I love the whole thing. So yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I've been to Nairobi in Kenya.
Amazing.
And in South Africa. I love those two.
Amazing. Oh, I would love to get to Nairobi also. Yes, they have an incredible safari there.
Yeah. So many of our listeners are very interested in the balance between personal development and professional achievement. How do you integrate these aspects into your coaching practice? Like trying to help them find a balance, if you do believe that there is a balance to be found, and how do you work through that with your clients?
So, I think it's the same thing, honestly. I don't actually differentiate between them. I think that your personal growth is your development. Like that is in itself. Again, like I talk about, like, my coaching is, business building from within. This is going to be deep work that we're doing and it's the only way. Like, I'm not a coach that's going to give you, okay, you need to be posting on Facebook 5 times. This is how you do a Facebook ad and how to, I'm not that kind of a coach. There's definitely coaches that do that. And there are people who want that. That's not the kind of work I do. So those two concepts in my brain are the same thing. And again, I mentioned at the beginning, like I really do a lot of work with my clients on recognizing that, like, I think a lot of people can come to business building and really try to prove themselves and show that they're valuable and that they can make money. They can do all these kinds of things. And it becomes very stressful and it becomes this like heavy burden on them. And so we do a lot of like, you have proven your value just by being born. And we can go through different things in your life that you like were the right person at the right time when you were at the grocery store, and you're the right person at the right time here, and all that. Like, you've already given your value. So this is like your art project. Let this like business building be an art project where you get to go deep within yourself. Right. Like, I really see it similar to like a photographer, right? Their artwork, right? That they have to really go deep and connect. You have to connect to yourself in order to be able to connect to your client who you're standing in front of, who you're photographing, in order to create beautiful work. And I think it's the same exact thing when it comes to your business. Your business is just another art form for you. And so you have to do the growth work in order to, develop and go bigger in your business. So it's not, in my mind, it's not different. It's exactly the same thing. That's like together, they're like this powerful force.
Did you have any of your, because of your diverse background, do you incorporate any of your experiences as a doula, as a program director into your current coaching methodology?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I think that like everything that we do is part of our training to get to what we get to do, right? So like that's actually one of the first things I have my clients do when we work together, like when they come in and they're like feeling like, but I don't have enough experience in my photography. I've only, I haven't even gone to school for whatever they're doing. I'll have them make a list of like all the official and unofficial things they've done to babysitting, to whatever it is. And so I think all of it has been, a massive part of growing who I am so I can be the coach for my clients. And, definitely like with the doula work, it's a lot of, again, I'm talking about the physical piece, that like the movements. And, I also myself had 4, I'm a mom of 4 home births. And so like knowing, when you're going through a painful contraction, right? Just like we've got painful contractions in business building, that, moving your body and walking around and kind of, is a great remedy for that. Right. And so I've certainly brought in a lot of that, the pieces of that as a doula. I mean, again, like I said in the beginning, I think that they've all been very wrapped up in each other in terms of like the journey of a person, right? Versus like the journey of a woman in giving birth, and the journey of a teenager and evolving to their next version in terms of the leadership, and then the journey of a business journey, right? Which is a really beautiful journey. So I think that absolutely so much of it pours in. I couldn't pinpoint exactly all the things, but I know that everything I did here is how what I'm doing here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that helps everybody that is. So I came from a different career. I was in healthcare before I did this. And, people a lot of times think they need to study a whole life about something to be good at it, that you don't have transferable skills from one profession to the other. And I 100% disagree. There's a lot that can be used from literally any profession into the next step into your journey. And don't take that for granted, because you definitely, as you evolve as a person in whatever job or profession you're in, you're going to be learning things that you can take it to the
Yeah.
next step of your life.
Exactly. I totally agree. Yeah, I'll have my clients Google if they're like really set on that they're not good enough and they haven't gone to school for this. I'll have them Google like best painters who've never went to school for it. See, right? Best photographers. Like so many people have not gone to school for it. And even like Elizabeth Gilbert I think it was in Big Magic, she was like, she basically encourages writers not to go to school for writing, because then you're taught all of these things and then you have to unlearn them in order to become the writer that you want to be. So she's like, forget that. Spend your money on some, cute cafe with funky music and a coffee, and pour your soul out there, not in a classroom with 20 other people going around sharing their writing.
So for someone listening who feels a little stuck and tiptoeing around their life or business, what is one piece of advice that you offer to help them start creating something that they're really proud of?
Yeah, so much good stuff I could pour down right now. I mean, if I say one thing, I think that it's really important for us to know what is our business and what is not our business. And so what I mean by that is that our business is not what other people think about us or say about us, say about us. What is our business is what we think about ourselves and what we think about our businesses. And so basically, in short, to kind of stay in our own lane and to really recognize I'm not going to be able to control what my mother thinks about me going out on my own and creating this business, or what my best friend is now seeing me show up online in a different kind of way. And she's got all the thoughts about me and who I'm becoming and I'm changing and all these kinds of things, right? Let our business be about us and focus on us. What do we think? We think that this is really exciting. We think, wow, I'm doing an amazing job. We think, wow, it's really scary and courageous to be dreaming up a business and be creating something. And that is really cool. And to stay in what do we believe about ourselves so that what other people believe about us, it doesn't matter.
None of our business.
None of our business. Exactly. None of our business.
Perfect.
Exactly.
So I want to ask you a question that I'm going to try to start asking all of our guests now. We know that part of moving from being an accidental CEO into an intentional one is just learning from mistakes and in failures. So what was one failure that you had in your journey as an entrepreneur that became a good lesson learned for you?
So I'd say 2 months ago, I think, or was it 2 months ago? Something like that. I don't know. I had launched a new program. It was a co-working space that I called Kicking Ass and Taking Names. And I was so excited about it. I was so clear that this is what everybody needed. They were having such a hard time getting their, work groove on, and I was going to help them and come together in a space and everything like that. And one person signed up for it, just one. I've gotten, this is kind of, going back to like that self-trust also of like, I didn't fall, I didn't fall flat on my face that I couldn't get up. I felt that sucks, And so I took like 24 hours to be like, that sucks. This sucks. What happened? I have no idea. This sucks. And then when I was able that, and so what I do and what I have my clients do is I have them do an evaluation to go through different steps of like what happened. I have them do this also when it's successful. So you can pick out and you can repeat. So what I realized is that I wasn't very clear. I assumed that people knew what a co-working space was. And even just from that place, there were so many people who didn't really know what co-working was. And they weren't sure what that looked like. And they weren't sure if they were going to have to talk a lot, or if they're not going to talk at all, or if there's going to be music. And I didn't answer questions. So I basically learned a lot of that. My marketing wasn't spot on, that I wasn't being clear enough with them what this was going to be. I didn't kind of like dumb down, like, which you really have to do to speak to them like they're kindergartners, like they don't know, not like little kids, but like they don't know all the different pieces, and you're explaining it to like an alien that's never heard of it. And I did not do that. So I was able to like learn various different kinds of things from that. And I do hope to kind of launch it again, not right now, but and I also realized how quickly I was able to get back up, which was a lesson worth $10,000 in itself that I would not be making from launching this program. So it was worth it. It was worth to see myself and be like, girl, you are a badass. That like, you are kicking ass because this failed and you did not, and you moved through it. You let yourself feel like crap. And then you came back up to evaluate and see what you can learn from it. And you move forward. And so, yeah, I think that's what I would say.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Tamar, tell our listeners where they can find you if they want to learn more from you and take advantage of all the great things you have to offer.
Yeah. They can find me on my website, which is Tamar, Tamar, coaching.com, or on Instagram, hang out on Instagram, which is Tamar, I think it is, I always forget what my title, I think it's Tamar Tribe _coaching. Let me just see, actually.
We'll link it to you guys.
Yeah, everything will be linked to the show notes, but I think it's like Tamar Tribe. Is it? Do you see it right now? Let me check.
I'm trying to pull it up as we speak.
Okay, let me see if I can get it too. It is Tamar Tribe _coaching. So you can find me there. I'm also on Facebook, but Instagram's really the place to be, or my website. You can reach out to me in my email. And yeah, those are the places that I hang out. So I'd love to hang out with some of you guys.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tamara. It was a great conversation. A lot of great stuff that our listeners can apply and, just enjoy and listen to and start practicing. So I really appreciate you. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of the Accidental Podcast, and we'll catch you up next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Accidental CEO Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us in the world where creativity and business strategy collide. I am Nada Salvatore, thrilled to have shared this time with you. Remember, every episode is a step closer to mastering the art of being an accidental CEO. So don't miss out. Hit subscribe, drop us a sweet review, and spread the word to your creative tribe. Your next big breakthrough could be just one episode away. Join us next time for more insights, laughs, and actionable tips. Keep pushing boundaries, dreaming big, and embracing the beautiful chaos of entrepreneurship. Here's to make magic happen in your business and beyond.